Hello, welcome to the Basketball Soapbox. I am your host, Daniel Daly. As we get into the top five teams in the East, if you missed my previous videos about the top five teams in the West, that will be linked up in the corner here. I'll try to link that up in there. So you guys can look at those videos as well. But we're talking about the East right now. The Boston Celtics have been at the top of the East, been rolling right along. Had a little stumble last week in their homestand, going 4-3. Started off at 0-3. But finishing 4-3 at that homestand. Now they entered there. They had a tough loss last night in Denver, but they are the number one team in the East, 26-11 on the season, 5-5 in the last 10. One of the better teams in the season so far, especially offensively. One of the best offenses to start the first 2 months of the season. October and November, December they hit a slump, and despite all that, they're still number one in the league in offensive rating and offensive points per game. Their defense was the question mark coming into the season, right? So without Robert Williams, Ime Udoka gone, that was the hole I thought that they would have on defense, and sure they did. And at times, even over the last month, they have had those lapses defensively. But somehow they've been creeping up back into the top half of the league in that regard there, if you can see at the bottom there, with Robert Williams returning, bringing back rebounding and shot blocking and the rim presence there. That I think they're still working in. That's going to be taking time probably into January, February or so when he really gets back into the starting lineup. But that's already making an impact as we're holding teams to 112.4 points per game, and their defensive rating is top 10 in the league. So that's always a good sign for the Celtics, especially when we were the best defensive team last year, to see our defense slowly creeping back into the forefront of the league there. And I think that's something that's going to offset our slump in shooting. I say our because I'm a Boston Celtics fan, of course. But in terms of the shooting for the Celtics in December was putrid. Hopefully they can continue to find that some point over the next couple months before All-Star break. Maybe the All-Star break gives them a chance to settle down and really focus in, because Hauser has taken a dip. Derek White has taken a dip. Malcolm Brogdon has taken a dip. All of these guys shooting have taken a dip. I think Al Horford's the only one really shooting good still in terms of percentages and stuff like that. I think he's still top 10 in the league in percentage, on three-point shots. But in terms of what that did for the Celtics, it basically gave our offensive identity. We're getting easy buckets in transition, all this stuff adding to our offense. But let's get into the stats here. Jayson Tatum at 30.9 points per game, 8.1 rebounds, and 4.1 assists. Obviously a leading MVP candidate with Luka Doncic, Nikola Jokic, and Giannis Antetokounmpo. Just really putting his game together, and I think the main difference in him is getting to the line. That's getting easy baskets, especially in transition. Even though we're not a fast-paced team, when we get those opportunities in transition, they're finishing. The Celtics are finishing at the rim, and Jayson Tatum is a prime example of that. But when his shot is not falling, he's also finding a way to get to the basket. Even last night, I think he took like 15 free throws in the game last night when his shot wasn't falling. So those are really good signs for Jayson Tatum, especially after last year. Well, it looked like he was settling on his shot a lot and doing side steps and all that stuff. He really found a way to get to the basket, make that extra step, adding the floater to his game. But his co-star, Jaylen Brown, who you can arguably not say is a co-star, averaging 21.7 points a game, 7.3 rebounds, and nearly 4 assists a game. Jaylen Brown has really taken a step up to be aggressive, to be that guy, especially when Jayson doesn't have it or he's struggling early on, just like last night. Jaylen Brown got off to a fast start out there scoring. He's usually doing that. If one guy doesn't have it, the other guy picks it up, and that's a good tandem to see. These guys are nearly scoring 30 points a game in this league, which is up there with Russell Westbrook and Kevin Durant, Shaq and Kobe, I believe. All these great duos out there that really put up buckets and got numbers. These guys are doing that and leading the Celtics by example, scoring well, rebounding the ball really well, which is something that I thought in the past that hurt us. They're getting a lot of those rebounds now, really picking up on the slack of that. And these two guys, the Jays, are playing great, and they're going to lead us to the playoffs, and we'll see how that goes in terms of getting back to the finals and stuff like that. But these two guys are really taking on the challenge of leading this team, especially offensively, to keep things going, keep the offense going, and they're doing that by example. And thirdly, I have Marcus Smart here, who's averaging 11.2 points per game, 7.4 assists a game, and 1.4 steals a game. Really developing as a point guard, not turning the ball over so much, really trying to get other guys involved in finding guys and keeping the hot hand, especially. I think that's been a added addition to helping Jayson and Jaylen when they got to go and give them the ball and let them go. And Marcus Smart has been doing that, especially with Jaylen Brown on backdoor cuts and stuff like that, finding Jayson Tatum to get him open looks and easy looks. That's been something that's been very vital over the past 2 seasons, the development of Marcus Smart in that regard. I think maybe yesterday was his worst game of the season. This season, worst game this season was just last night. So putting all that together, getting those less streaky up and down games for Marcus Smart and more consistency out of that has been a plus for the Celtics, especially his defense guarding guys. And people keep saying that he's getting scored on and shouldn't be in defensive player of the year category. But I always sit there and point out there's a guy on Twitter, I forgot his name, I think Sean Grandy or one of these guys. They point out the possessions when star players or elite players are guarded against Marcus Smart. And he usually keeps them to low percentage shots, low attempts. They're looking to switch off of him. That's how teams are scoring, hunting other guys, not Marcus Smart. And I think people are trying to pigeonhole Marcus Smart like he's a raw guy. And it's like, no, this guy's defense is there. He makes big-time plays. He gets after it. He makes timely buckets. He does certain things that help the Celtics win and has always done that. So you can't include the Jays without trying to include Marcus Smart there as that third guy, really helping the team out, really balancing things out for the Celtics on the floor. But also the help of Malcolm Brogdon, 13 points a game and nearly 4 assists a game. He's kind of slumped off a little bit, but he's the guy that can figure out how to come in as the sixth man and find easy shots for the Celtics. He's able to play make, able to knock down shots, although recently hasn't been able to do it. Everyone's kind of in a slump for the Celtics. Derek White as well, 10 points a game, came out as gangbusters, hitting a high percentage from 3-point shots, knocking down his shots, has recently been in a slump, but he's always been a little bit able to find how to get to the basket and get his points. Al Horford, of course, providing 3-point shooting and defense there. He's always going to be doing that. Adding in Time Lord, who's come back and has been a presence on the boards and in rim block, protecting the rim and also messing up the rim last night if you saw Denver's game, delaying the game for nearly 40 minutes for dunking on the rim too hard. So add that to the resume for Time Lord. But looking at guys that need to pick it up, Sam Hauser, Grant Williams, all these guys that were in the slump last month, unlike the first 2 months of the season when they were hitting all the shots, the Celtics are still getting good looks. They're still moving the ball. We just got to get our shooting back up. And I think that's something that's going to pick up. But even though our shooting has slumped, our defense has picked up. So we'll see how that offsets going into the second quarter of the season here, right before All-Star break. But I think the Celtics are in a good position here where they can continue to keep their offense going with Jaylen Brown and Jayson Tatum and really get things going. And I think that's going to be the thing. They're second in the league in 3-point shots made per game at 15.9. That's nearly 16 a game. That's been our calling card. Can we get back to that? Maybe we'll see going into the All-Star break, but I think defensively is going to be our calling card where our offense is going to be stagnant at times. Our defense is really going to be able to pick up and make a difference heading into the second quarter of the offseason. Joe Mazzulla has been coming in. People have gotten mad at, even I've gotten mad at some of his rotations and some of his not taking timeouts, telling guys, hey, you guys got to work through it, which is understandable, but also frustrating because you see a lead go from 20 to 10 to 5 and stuff like that. We've seen that. But also the Celtics have been able to turn around and pull out of those things. And Joe Mazzulla is basically saying, hey, you guys can't be babied here, which is understandable, kind of like Ime Udoka the previous season just now. So you're seeing Joe Mazzulla get his feet wet, trying to figure things out. But he has this offense clicking. Our defense is going to pick up once Rob Williams gets back into the starting lineup, hopefully soon. Hopefully our shooting picks back up. And I think that's going to be vital heading into the second quarter of the season, heading into All-Star break, especially with all these other teams in the East now really catching up, really getting their feet wet, really getting some type of consistency out of everybody now, instead of just the Celtics. So the Celtics have to continue that consistency here in the second quarter of the season right before All-Star break. But I think the Celtics have two guys that can get it done in Jaylen Brown and Jayson Tatum and really continue to be at the top of the East because I don't see guys stopping them on a night-to-night basis of those guys getting 30 points. I think on the season they're 17-1 when they both score 30 points. So that's something that to keep an eye on, that good things happen when that happens for the Celtics. But we also have to see if the guys can keep shooting there and pick up their shooting. The others pick up their shootings like Grant Williams and Sam Hauser, how they were starting the season, Derek White and Malcolm Brogdon. Hopefully Marcus Smart can join in on the action of that. But guys knocking down shots around Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown is only going to make us more dangerous. And I think that's what's going to continue to keep the Celtics at the top as well as their defense picking up. And we'll see how they continue that in the second half of the season.